Hello students. Last module we stopped here, and where we have discussed about the causes of the degradation of forest resources and wildlife resources. Now children, what we will understand is conservation of forest and wildlife resources. So we will see, children, how do we conserve the forest and the wildlife in India. uh, we have to understand that in India, not only in India, the whole world is facing a big crisis because of the degradation of the flora and the fauna. Now, conservation is very important for the rapid decline in wildlife population and forestry. It has become essential for the conservation to be there. And why do we need conservation? Children, this is a very frequently asked question. Let me make one thing very clear. Why do we need conservation? This is the first point. Conservation preserves the ecological diversity and our support systems. Water, air, soil, it is necessary. And genetic diversity. Now children, try to point. Genetic diversity of plants and animals. Genetic diversity means various kinds of plants and various kinds of animals that are found in the environment. It should be always found, otherwise it happens that there we conservation, we talk about conservation, but in reality the conservation doesn't happen. So genetic diversity, we have to maintain it, and here example is given here. What is genetic diversity actually? For better growth of species and breeding. Just checks here, children, it is mentioned, I am highlighting it. In agriculture we are dependent on traditional crop varieties. So fisheries are too heavily dependent on maintenance of aquatic biodiversity. Yeah, catching fish, many people's life is also dependent on this, children, that catching fish and using and carrying on their livelihood on the basis of fisheries. So fisheries are also heavily dependent on the maintenance of aquatic biodiversity. Now children, here one thing that I want to highlight is that something, a new concept called as aquatic biodiversity. Children, not only on the soil, not only on in the forest and on the land, but inside the water also we have to see that the diversity is maintained. Now just see, very clearly it is mentioned here, the initiatives that have been taken by the people who think by the environmentalists and the people who environment highlight 60s and 70s. What steps have been taken? Please children, this is from GK point of view, very important. Indian Wildlife Protection Act was implemented. Now GK, it is very important. Indian Wildlife Protection Act implemented, and various provisions were there. All India list of protective species are there, and certain endangered species, it was protecting the remaining population of certain endangered species. Many of the animals, children, we are witnessing such a troublesome time, that in future it could happen that endangered species can become extinct. So we have to see that all these endangered species are not extinct. We save these animals. Some examples are given here, children, you can see. um, how can we save the endangered species? Because if these endangered species are extinct, then a time will come that we will have to be we will just think why it has happened, and we should have taken steps previously, it would have been better. Then central level and state level means not only the government of India at the central level, but state level also. Many national parks have been established. Now question is asked, how do we conserve the wildlife? Okay children, try to understand. Question that is frequently asked is, we conserve the our natural resources and the wildlife by establishing national park. Says when we establish the national park, we protect specific animals. Yeah, you can see it is mentioned here, children. Because if the national parks are there, national parks means no hunting, no poaching, nothing. The animals are taken very good care, and the government spends lot of money in preservation of these specific animals. So some of the animals which are on the verge of extinction, which are on the are considered to be as endangered, including tigers. Children, you know, save tiger, we are, you all are very well aware of the initiative that has been taken by the government. Then one horned rhinoceros, children, I know it very well, very frequently found in Assam. And then you have the Kashmir stag or the hangul. Three types of crocodiles are, matlab, the examples are given here, which are the animals which are on the brink of extinction. Saltwater crocodile, which is also called as ghadial, Asiatic lion and others. Okay. Now the endangered species, the names are given here. You have to remember at least two. Try to remember at least two examples. Okay. Try to maintain that you remember the name of two animals which are on the brink of extinction. Now, children, the next topic here is Project Tiger. When did it start? Try to understand. Because 1973, the people who forest who are looking after the forest life, they realized that the population of tiger is becoming very less, and major threat to tiger population are numerous. How? Why the tiger is becoming extinct? Children, try to understand one thing. We have to understand that why tiger is becoming extinct. First reason is poaching for trade. Okay. Shrinking habitat means we are clearing the forest. We are using this forest land for agricultural land. We are also not taking care of the animals who are staying in these parks, in this national parks and in the forest. So depletion of prey based species. Now try to understand what is prey based species. Animals which are staying in the forest, they need something to eat, and these animals, they eat animals only. So they are depend on certain prey, prey. Okay, so growing human population, all these reasons are there that animals were becoming extinct. And tiger, here we have taken the example of tiger, and left the tiger population on the verge of extinction. Imagine a time comes that we, our children, in our the forthcoming generations, we tell them this is a tiger seen in our childhood days. Now we don't find it anywhere. It should not happen. Our forthcoming generation should also see tiger. We go to the zoo, we go to the national parks. There we feel so happy when we see these animals. Now, got it? So, two nations became prime target for poaching and illegal trading. India and Nepal. Okay. Now you know tiger skin is very expensive. So there are people, just to make money, they kill the tiger blindly. It is very bad. And so Project Tiger, children, now you have to remember Project Tiger, launched in 1973. Okay. So tiger conservation, definitely it is very important. So please, you have to remember GK again. Children, I'm telling GK point of view. Where do we find these tigers? Corbett National Park, Sundarbans National Park, Bandhavgarh National Park, and which state it is situated. Okay, children, the question could be frequently asked for your tests and for your examinations, so please do remember it. Okay. So we have these animals, and then you have the Sariska Wildlife Sanctuary in Rajasthan, Manas Tiger Reserve in Assam, and Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala. Again, I am telling you, children, remember at least two. Got it? So try to remember at least two of these wildlife sanctuaries. So conservation is very important, and we have taken the example of how to do the conservation. That is a big question. That how we do the conservation, and what are the efforts taken by the government. So even insects are also very important. Beginning to find a place in conservation planning. Law has been made in India. Please remember, children. Wildlife Act of 1980 and 90. That several hundred butterflies, moth, beetle, and the dragon have been added to the list of species. Children, try to understand that insects and flies, small flies, are also important to maintain the balance in the biodiversity, isn't it? So we have to take care of each one of them. Do you feel happy to see a butterfly? I feel very happy. I go into my childhood days when we used to see the butterfly and run after that. So imagine a time comes when we don't find butterflies in the garden or in the parks. We'll feel bad, isn't it? So we need to see that each and every species is maintained. So plants were also added into this. Please see, children, it is mentioned here. 1991, for the first time, plants were also added to the list, starting the 6 species. Now we have the types and distribution of how many types of forest do we have. So children, it is very clearly given here. You can remember it. Reserve forests, protected forests. Now one very nice this is example is given here, children. Ghadiyal on the brink. You know what is a ghadiyal? Yes, children, you can see in the picture what actually is ghadiyal. It has also come under the endangered species. Please check. Okay, so the different type of forest that we have: reserved forest, protected forest, and then, children, unclassed forest. Now children, very important paragraph is given here, that about the reserved and the protected forest. Reserved forest and protected forest, these are also the permanent forests. Permanent forests are there, maintained for the purpose of producing timber, other forest. You know, we need lot of resources from the forest, isn't it? So we need to save these resources properly, and that's why these forests are kept protected and reserved. Otherwise what happens, the people who are forest dwellers, like the Adivasis, the Santhals, they don't realize that what is the importance of certain plants and certain animals, and they kill the animals, and they use the plants for their own purpose. So what happens is, permanent forest, and 75% of the forest area, children, see here, is in these states. Please remember the name of these states. You have to remember the name of these states. And most important is northeastern states. Parts of Gujarat have a very high percentage of this forest. Okay, and the unclassed forest is managed by the local communities. Just now that I was talking about the forest dwellers, the people who are living in the forest, they look after these forest areas. How do they look after these forest areas, children? Just see, community and conservation. How do they do the conservation? We will be discussing it in the next class. Thank you, children.